Great, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another uLaw webinar. In today's webinar, we're going to be talking about how uLaw integrates with third-party credit card payment integration gateways. And our focus for today's webinar exclusively is going to be our very recent integration with the TD or TD Bank's credit card gateway. But we do integrate with other gateways such as Pivotal Payments and Moneris. And I do kindly request for everyone that's logged in using your computers to actually use the phone if possible for better audio quality as well. Today's webinar, it has not been accredited, so it's not accredited for CPD, but for legal professionals that currently use uLaw or for legal professionals that want to understand how best to efficiently and cost-effectively collect payments by credit card for both trust and their general payments, this may be a bit of an interesting session. Okay, so we're going to focus more on the demonstration of the capability of the integration, and let's get started. Like any other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has a very simple agenda, quickly talking about the value such a payment integration brings into your business. Okay, why do this at all to begin with? And how it helps you streamline one of the most important aspects of your business, which is collecting money from, or payments, or collecting retainers from your clients. Okay. We're going to look at how uLaw integrates with these payment gateways right through the workflow, right from the time you intake a client to when you send him or her the final bill. We'll talk about the different integration points along the way as well. And as I discussed earlier, some of the key players that we've currently integrated with include Pivotal Payments. Okay, we've got Moneris, and the most recent integration is with TD Canada Trust. Okay, and for those who already have one of these accounts, we're going to show you how easy it is for you to bring in the information provided to you into uLaw to enable that integration. And the reason why we chose these vendors and we're choosing other vendors that we can integrate with is the fact that they do promise to have a compliant way of deducting their service charges from your general account and leaving your trust account untouched, which is very critical and very important, especially as a legal professional who's looking to reconcile trust and ensure the sanity of the trust account. Okay, so truly these three players and many more that we look forward to integrating in the coming months clearly bifurcate the two accounts, the general account and the trust account. Once the retainer is in, it goes into your trust account. The 1% service fee is automatically taken out of your general account. Okay, so that's really the key. And the last step truly is how do you integrate this gateway with your uLaw subscription or your uLaw account. And we'll look at how we start with settings, and we'll take a simple use case both from a retainer perspective as well as from client payment perspective and walk you through the process. All right. Kindly do use the chat window to ask any questions that you may have, or if you have any other concerns. My support staff will be available to answer those questions. So getting started with kind of the first slide, truly establishing some of the advantages of doing this integrated payment. Okay, first and foremost, the fact that you can get paid faster and ensure the accuracy of that payment as well. You get paid faster because through this integration, which is real time, you are able to now enter your client's credit card information right within uLaw, which passes along to any of those three different players that we work with, and they would ensure the immediate transaction, ensuring the credit card gets transacted, whether it's approved or rejected. You, as the legal professional, get that feedback right away. So if for some reason the card has been declined, then you have the opportunity to let your customer know and ask for another card. Okay, so it's ensuring the accuracy as well as getting paid faster. cost effective and convenience is really the name of the game. You want to be as efficient, effective, and provide convenience to your clients as well as a big part of your service level agreement, as part of your quality assurance to your clients. So we're going to show you a few features where you can actually include a particular link and provide a kind of a self-service capability for your clients to actually pay you at their own time. Okay? So let's say you generate an invoice and there is actually a client payment outstanding. You can now include a link that gets sent to your client along with that invoice, and all they have to do, your client would have to just click on the link, put in the amount, put in the credit card information, all on a secure site. In this case, let's say this is a TD. It would go into a TD's portal that accepts that credit card information, transacts it, and uLaw ensures that you, as the legal professional, then gets notified right away. Okay? As soon as your client has paid you for your service, you get notified so that you can then go ahead and make the appropriate ledger entries or payment entries into uLaw. Okay. The fact that this is all on the cloud gives you the convenience of being able to do this anytime, anywhere. So currently we have clients that either take their iPad, tab, laptop, and basically if they have to collect a payment, even if they're mobile, they're able to do that. You can actually collect that payment right at your office. You do not necessarily need a terminal to do this because you can actually collect the information right within uLaw. So that's kind of a anytime access to accepting credit card payments. And talking about credit card payments, kind of the top 4 credit card processing gateways are all covered within the TD gateway as well. So you've got your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, as well as your Discover network. Okay. And last but not the least, you want to avoid the old school days of accepting checks, dealing with bounce checks, right? And any delays in that check reflecting in your accounts. And even worse is if that check were to bounce, just the first day after the previous, the next month, and if you've already reconciled your previous month, then you need to make appropriate adjustments to reflect this bounce check in your next month's reconciliation. So it's a little bit of a hassle, and you don't have to necessarily worry about it if you now have a credit card integration that's seamless and it's convenient, cost effective. There is obviously a cost associated with it, so don't get me wrong. There's definitely a price for the convenience, but I believe for the value that it provides your customers as well as yourself and all the pain that you can get rid of, it truly is something that will pay for itself. Okay. Okay. I like it. We already have our first question. What are the rates that uLaw provides for a credit card transaction? That's a really good question. So uLaw does not process your transactions, okay? So it's basically TD or Moneris or Pivotal. So our partners, they are the ones who actually transact and process. And all we do is collect the information such as name, the credit card number, the expiry date, okay? And then pass it along in a secure channel to these secure portals. Then that's the integration we've established so that those players are able to then use that information, ensure that this is a valid credit card, and are able to transact it and let us know whether it's approved. And if it's approved, they give us back a unique reference number. If it's not approved, they tell us that it's declined, so that at least we then can notify you of the situation. Now, to answer the question around the service fee costs, each partner has their own sets of policies and rules of how they charge our customers. We obviously leave it to you as legal professionals who are best at this to negotiate a rate that's meaningful to your firm. It is, believe it or not, very customized based on your firm's needs. I do know for a fact that it's predominantly based out of the number of transactions that you have in a certain period of time, as well as a value of the total amount of transactions. And a general thumb of rule, I think, is between 1% to about 2%. So it's between 1 to 2% is kind of what we've seen as the general norm. So if you have a $1,000 retainer, that $10 would be taken as a service fee. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Really good question. We spoke about how these three partners, TD, Pivotal, Moneris, can now keep you trust compliant, meaning they don't necessarily ding you off your trust account for all those service fees. And the way they accomplish that is by providing you as their client separate IDs, or kiosk IDs I would call it, or terminal IDs as some of them call it, separate IDs for both your trust and your general account. So if you are interested in such a gateway integration, the first step you would do, and this is something we can help you too, is we introduce you to one of our colleagues or one of our point of contacts in these three companies, and you are able to reach out to them, figure out how you could negotiate the best rate for yourself or your firm. And once you've signed up, you sign up with, let's say, TD in this case. TD would provide you with a separate terminal ID and a password for your trust, a separate terminal ID and a password for your general account. And that would be linked to your real-life general accounts. So even if you have a bank account with BMO, Scotia, or any of the credit unions, you can still use these three players, including TD. So you don't have to necessarily have an account with TD to use this service, okay? So what TD would do is they would connect with your trust and general account, all right, and ensure that, and they recognize that if it's a retainer, it's the money is coming out of, the money is getting deposited into the trust, and the service fee is coming out of your general account. So by divvying it up, they know exactly where to deposit and where to take that service fee from, okay? And that's also really helpful, especially when you're managing transactions. So if you're dealing with multiple transactions, kind of really having separate transactions for trust in general, also from a payment standpoint, can be very critical. And the last but not the least, I think the convenience, can't stress enough the importance of ensuring that the funds are available in that credit card, and it's almost instantaneously that you get notified as the legal professional here collecting that payment of the situation, okay? That truly empowers you and ensures that you provide that convenience to your client, also safeguards you from any dealing with bounce checks or credit card that just didn't have enough funds to pay for your service, right? So how do we accomplish this integration? We'll walk you through this step by step in today's webinar. Beyond just these slides, I think it would be probably more meaningful to do it as a webinar. But just so we can set the expectation and paint the picture, within the uLaw product, you have our settings, which truly allows you to personalize the uLaw experience. And within that settings panel, right up within the accounts, you have now the opportunity to select TD as one of your payment collection gateways. And then all you need to do one time is provide the trust or kiosk terminal ID with its password, and then provide the general terminal ID with the password which TD would provide you with. Just enter that information into uLaw, and then you're all set. Okay. So before I wrap the slideshow and jump into actually showing you how this works, just the top 4 aspects of why do this at all. Cost effective, very efficient, right? It's integrated with uLaw, so it's cost effective and efficient. It's also convenient, and it's a unified solution. You don't have to deal with going into separate systems to do that. We've kind of unified it into one single intuitive user interface. It's flexible and very powerful, the fact that it does keep the trust and the operating accounts or general accounts separate, and we spoke about how transactions happen across these 2 separate accounts. It is fully secure, so if that's a concern, you can be rest assured that the transactions that happen within these gateways are compliant and secure, and they're fully hosted through a secure payment gateway. with tokenization and encryption. Okay? And I know we use the word cheap, but I would rather say it's cost effective. These are, preferred low rates, and obviously I'm sure you, as uLaw customers, you could certainly reap some better rates. That's something we can't promise, but that's something that we have discussed with our partners to be able to provide you with a better rate. So most definitely it's something that you can have a conversation with our partners. Okay. As I said, it's about $1%, 1% to about 2%. We're also talking to a few vendors that are starting to charge by $1. It's keeping it very, very competitive, and we hope to make those integrations available in the future. But so far, I think we've been very happy, and a lot of our clients have been very happy with the TD integration that we've just started. Okay. I'm going to skip really all these slides. These slides are actually going to be available, so I'll make sure it's available for you to review as part of our recording for today. Okay. But more importantly, we're going to walk through these fields, walk through these steps in a real-life demonstration. Okay. So I'm going to pause this real quick for any questions around who to connect with or contact within TD. Our colleague Tresher Baker is the TD Bank specialist who works with all our clients, and we're happy to pass along her information to you. Okay. And for those who are interested, please do email us at our support@uLawPractice.com email ID, and we would be more than happy to introduce you to Tresher as well. A quick point to take back as a roadmap that uLaw is looking into or already investing in is the fact that we now have a full-fledged mobile platform as well. Apart from the web platform, we currently have apps both on your iOS and your App Store. And we provide you with the convenience now of being able to docket time, and that's something we're going to talk about in our webinar next week. How do you maximize the use of your mobile app? The ability to scan in your receipts, the ability for you to docket on the go, access information, your customers' phone numbers, email, almost making it your legal phone book. So all that's cool things coming along next week. But we're all looking to add to that the capability for this particular payment integration within our mobile platform. And the last but not the least, the big roadmap item would be the ability for you to automate the ledgering of these payments. As soon as someone's paid you, that automatically would ledger it as debit and credit within uLaw, which today is one of the manual steps in between. Some of our clients appreciate it because it gives them the full control. They don't want the software to do that for them. But with the advent of technology, and as we think we can provide it as an optional workflow item, and then our clients can choose to turn it on or turn it off. Okay? So that's to be expected in spring of 2018. And for those who are joining us today who don't know who we are again, proud Canadian, cloud-based legal accounting and practice management software. Do check us out on our website, uLawPractice.com, and we do offer a no obligation 30-day trial. Okay, so let me now shift gear and jump into my practice account. And I am Roger Moore, the lawyer, and for those who have joined me in many of my sessions, that's one of the most common characters that we use for our demonstrations. And let's take a simple use case of how you add a client, okay, create a matter for that client, and then walk through how you would accept payments, both from a retainer perspective, as well as let's work through the matter and then get payment beyond the retainer as well. And you kind of see the slight nuances, the differences in how that's worked out, okay? Now, before I go forward with even doing that workflow, we spoke about what is the fundamental basic step or the prerequisite for this whole integration. And that, my friends, really resides within the settings. The settings is truly how you can personalize the uLaw experience, particularly for your firm. Be that your information, how you color code your dashboard, setting up rates, setting up appropriate calendar, busy times, even your default fee rate per hour. You can set this up for various different jurisdictions. So I'll reset this to Ontario. Okay. And then when you jump into accounts, there's obviously a few cool things that we do. We allow you to print checks right out of uLaw. But the point to note is this line item here called payment collection. By default, this would be set to none. And as you can see, we have three options. So the test account is more for us as uLaw, the company looking to integrate. For you as the client, you would be using the non-test account, so the one that does not have the word test. Okay. So if you really look at it, we have Pivotal, Monaris, and then now TD Canada Trust. So for the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm going to use the TD Canada Trust test account because I do have some fake numbers and it doesn't work. Otherwise, it just works right within this test environment. I've tried it, doesn't work in Best Buy. With that, they do provide you with your own trust terminal ID. Okay, and there is a secret key that TD would provide you with that you enter into this particular field, and then you would be provided with, a separate terminal ID. Obviously, these are the same because of, the fact that this is a test environment. But in your case, these would be separate, and then it has its own general account secret key. Okay. All you need to do is change that, hit the save button, and you're all set. So that's kind of a prerequisite. The first step that you would have to do once you've signed up with, let's say, TD. Okay? So you've signed up with TD, you've come into uLaw, you've gone into your settings, you've set yourself up with TD Canada Trust, provided the information, hit save, you're all set. Now let's show you how that's supposed to work. Okay? So let's take the first step of adding a client. Okay, so I'm going to say add to my client. I'm going to say Mr. Michael Chang. Okay. And let's say Mr. Michael Chang was a client referral and he lives at 91 Queen Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we'll say that's his. Oh, sorry about that. I may have just refreshed the whole page. It's, I guess, that time of the day with some butterfingers. I may have touched the wrong button. So we'll just wait for this to load. And while we let that to load, I do want to draw your attention that this is today's webinar, and our next webinar is on the next week, the 16th. Same time, it's going to be on our mobile solution, and we're hoping to introduce you to one of our latest updates on our iOS platform. Okay? Let's jump back into, so that's what's coming up next week. So let's jump into the contact that we just created. Let's create that contact or client, Michael Chang. So I'll say add new contact. Adding to my clients. Michael Chang. Source of contact, client referral, 81 King Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'll mark it as a mailing address and let me click the save button. Okay? And as soon as you've saved it, it's going to refresh your entire contact database. Obviously, this being a test database that all our clients use, it's nearing, there's quite a few test accounts that matters that have been created. So as soon as you refresh and bring up Michael Chang as your client, you're now going to be able to create a file or a matter for Michael Chang. So let's go ahead and do that. So for that, I'll click on the matter button. And this opens up a fresh matter page. And let's keep this fairly simple. I'll say Michael versus Steffi, fence issue. Could be a slip and fall. It could be any of other practices, right? It could be a family law. It could be any of the laws. So let's go ahead and click the Save button so that the first really step is that you can create a file. And you start now to sign your retainer agreement. And one of the questions that we had in our last webinar was, what if I don't have, a trust account? Well, you can still use the TD integration to start accepting credit card payments just for your client payments, which goes directly into your general account. So in that case, you just tell TD that you're really not looking to get a trust account set up. But it's truly a moot point, because one of the fundamental reasons that these companies promote themselves is the fact that they can keep you trust compliant. So unless the rates are really attractive, there are other means of accepting payments, but then TD does that as well. Okay. So let's say the first steps, once you send a retainer letter, so it's a $500 retainer, let's go ahead and deposit into trust that new retainer. So I'm going to say $500. Now, as you can see, there are quite a few methods of payments that you can record of how your client, Michael Chang, paid that $500. But if you notice down here, we have a button called Collect Payment or Payment Collection. Now, if Michael Chang paid you a check, obviously you're going to put the check number, right? You're just going to say it's a check number, and that's the check number, and you're going to accept that payment. But we're going to be using the use case of collecting this payment via credit card. So let's assume Michael Chang is in your office, okay, and you just signed the retainer letter, and you're saying, hey, Michael, you know what? We've started this new policy. We are able to now accept trust retainers through credit card. Would you like to do that? And he's like, oh, hell yeah. It's fairly simple. Let's do that. So you just hit the payment collection, validate it's the $500. You're all set. It's the right terminal ID or your trust ID. And you're just going to say, collect payment now. You obviously put in Michael's information. Okay. And you can put in additional information as well. As you can see clearly, this is an account for our company in a test mode. It does copy over the invoice or order number that we've generated. Okay. The actual amount. And let's say this is Michael Chang. And let's say it's a Visa. And I do have a Visa number that I like to put on record. And the expiry date being January 2019. Okay, so Michael just gave you his credit card information. I just copied it over, but you would have otherwise had to just type it in. And you can put some comments on it. Michael's a great guy, whatever. And submit payment. And what happens now is that uLaw transacts through TD. Okay, so I'll just hide that real quick. So basically, we give you this little snippet which says, please copy, so you can easily just copy this whole text. Okay, but if you want further details, this is what TD provides uLaw back. Terminal ID, the order ID, the amount, the most important response being approved. So if for some reason that credit card did not get approved, this would say declined. And then that's when you ask Michael for another credit card, right? Or another means of payment. Unique reference ID. So that's the unique reference that TD provides you to cross-reference your payment referrals, right? So you would basically close out. And this is the part that we're looking to automate as well as part of a roadmap. This manual step where you say, I got it through a credit card. Here's the reference number. Let me give you a receipt. Hit apply. Okay. So it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just one step further so you can copy that information, put it into uLaw. And here's your retainer receipt. Okay. And you sign this. Michael signs it. And then Michael's along the way. Behind the scene, what happens is TD would still deposit the $500. Okay, so you've got all of that information. The new retainer, credit card paid through, and that's the reference number. behind the scenes, what would happen, just like in uLaw, the $500 would be deposited into your pool trust account, and based on whatever service fee you've signed up for, let's say it's 1%, right? That $5 would then be withdrawn or credited from your general account, okay? So it's as simple as that. Once you've provided us with that information, that we integrate with TD to accept payments for your retainer, okay? I hope that workflow is fairly simple. Please do use the chat window to ask me any specific questions around how I just accepted a credit card payment for a trust retainer. Now let's go ahead and maybe just docket initial client interview. I'll have a spell check, bow ties it, and maybe I'll make this a flat rate. I'll say, you know what, it's just $500. Okay, and it's going to save that information into your matter. And very important, if it's a flat rate, docketing the entire time that you took, or not really docketing, but capturing the time that you took across this one docket or this entire matter, because then we can give you pretty powerful analytics about your profitability with regards to this matter and the area of practice, okay? And maybe you add a few disbursements. I'll just say paid from app general, and I'll say application fee. We just call it $100, tax exempted. I'll say Ministry of Finance, paid out of my general. It's my check number. Okay. So now you have a docket for about $500 plus tax, and then you have a $100 disbursement, and hence the client now owes us, or owes you, the legal professional, $165 over and above the trust. Okay, so let's go ahead and raise that invoice. We always recommend a preview. Let's go ahead and create that pre-bill or preview, if you will. And you can use many of our themes, the ones that can have your logo on it, the ones that don't. We leave it to your preference. Here it is, Michael versus Steffi. And you've got that docket, you're happy with that, $565. You've got that disbursement of $100, right? And this is your potential invoice once you like what you see. You've got the information about the retainer. Very important that it also has the description and the reference number. Okay? Perfect. Let's say you like this preview. Let's go back and raise the actual complete invoice. Instead of preview, I'll probably use a COM orange. I'll go ahead and generate the invoice. Okay? So wait for it, and then hit the download button. There you go. And this is the true invoice, the first invoice that you raised for Michael Chang. And there's an important aspect as to why I'm doing this and generating this as well. Let's close out that receipt. Okay. Alrighty then. So here is our invoice. Same information. The difference is that between preview and this invoice, that this invoice actually has an invoice number that you can refer to. Okay, so it's made for Mr. Michael Chang. All this is great. You can even create an eco-friendly invoice, which shrinks the number of pages that you use. You can customize the terms and conditions or just leave it empty. I think I just put in we will charge 20%. But the point to note is if you are integrated with a third-party payment gateway, uLaw does one step further and thanks you for that integration. Besides giving you the convenience of accepting the credit card information within uLaw, remember we accepted the credit card within uLaw where you entered the credit card number. through an invoice, you basically can go ahead and attach this link. It says, hey, please click here and you can change the text. Please click here to pay the balance using your credit card. Fairly simple words, right? So let's say your client receives this as an email attachment. So you electronically send this invoice. He receives it and he, at his own leisure, clicks it on a weekend. Obviously, this is a test site, but it's still secure, right? And it's by TD. And it's the same page, essentially, that we had used to capture Mr. Michael Chang's information when he provided that $500, right? And what he's paying us for, again, very important, is not the $665, because uLaw knows that 500 of that had already been collected as a retainer, which is a pending trust transfer that you have to make from the trust account to your general account. So it knows to only charge the client the $165 that was on that invoice, which is the outstanding payment. Okay? So same concept, right? This time it's just the user using the screen is not you, but it's Michael. Obviously, that's not his name. There you go. Right? You say thank you, thanks, whatever. And hit submit payment. Now this is what Michael would see. Payment processing response, approved for the $165, right? Matter and client information. It was a matter, MC, that's the file number. Makes it very clear that it's for the same file number, okay? It's for the matter, Michael was Steffi, okay? And the client's name, the amount. Now, when Michael does this at his own leisure, what we also do, we also send you an email so that it's convenient. Obviously, Michael would expect you to send him a receipt, right? So that's kind of really the last logical closure, if you will, to this life cycle. So let me go ahead and show you. And there you go. As soon as that payment came through, whatever email ID that you have within uLaw, so right with the uLaw, you go to settings, you go to details, you have your work email. To this particular email, we send out this little snippet, which tells you, gives you the good news that, hey, you just got paid that $165 that you're expecting from Mr. Michael Chang, okay? And you're like, wow, that's awesome. What you're going to do is just open uLaw, take this particular unique ID, right? Go into that particular matter, and we have this jumping question mark, if you noticed. This is really how you could start to enter these payments. There's the $165. You're going to say it's actually through credit card, generate receipt, right? Generate that receipt, sign it, and just send it back. You can basically just say, thank you for the payment, right? And you can just sign this, drag and drop this, and obviously you can put some notes and whatever you want to put in the email. And that's it. As soon as he paid you, you received that information, you promptly used that information, generated a receipt out of uLaw, and you send it back. So that kind of talks to the convenience, your professionalism, and your promptness in delivering documents to your clients. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now, obviously, in this particular matter, there's still that $500 pending trust transfer. Always, I know this is outside the scope of this particular webinar, but we always recommend that you are on top of your pending trust transfers, because honestly, this is your money to be made. That's your $500, moving it from your trust to your general account. Do it as an EFT between your TD banks maybe. And uLaw promptly also provides you the Form 9A to fill out. And you can even synchronize with your Google Drive with uLaw, right? So you basically can just say, I want to sign in as the particular account. And start to store documents right within here. Okay? 45301. Let's go right into that. There you go. Throw in that Form 9A. Oh, there you go. The payment receipt. And it's all made available to you right within uLaw. Okay, so that was kind of a complete life cycle as well. So we first look at how we can create a client, Michael Chan, right? Just through that workflow itself. Payment, accepting payment, whether that's retainer or for general, is part of our workflow. It's part of the life cycle of that client. We created a matter. It's a simple small claims fence issue matter. We had a fairly simple docketing. We had one docket for a flat rate of $500, and we had a disbursement for about a $100 application fee, right? And then we received obviously that $500. In fact, I can click on the question mark and show you that. We received that deposit into trust. It was now withdrawn totally, right, after we erased that invoice. And we, along with that invoice, sent Michael a self-serve capability for him to click on the link and pay it himself at his own leisure. Or he could have just given you a call and we can walk through that life cycle as well. You would go through the same process. Okay? So let's say we create a new matter for Michael. He's really happy and he's come back with another issue with his landlord and tenant. And this time he's not retaining you. He just wants you to finish the job and send him an invoice and he would pay you, right? That's the same concept. It's just where you maneuver within uLaw to accept that payment, okay? So let's say there's no retainer here. I'm just going to go ahead and say once the work is done. So let's say you represented Michael in this matter, and you've just gone ahead and you're just going to send him a docket, an invoice for the work done. Okay. Work done, MATB. And this could be incremental too, and that's the beauty of this. So even if it's just a 1 hour docket, and if you're in the habit of sending incremental bills, I think that's a great habit to have. You don't want to make it almost every day, but again, you can pace out how you set the expectation right with your client that they should expect a bill for the work that you're going to be delivering, right? So let's say you go ahead, and for the purposes of time, I'm just going to skip the preview, though it's definitely not recommended. We obviously like for you to review it. So let's say you sent this particular invoice, right? Just like last time. I'm going to compose it, have that ready, generate my invoice. I can electronically sign it if I have an Adobe Sign or any of the electronic signature applications. Send this to him. Okay, and let's say he reviews it. He is not at a point where he can he just received it in his email. but he's not at a point where he can actually click on it, and he gives you a call. And he says, hey, Roger, I just received your bill for $113. You know what? I'm not in the position to actually do this myself. Can I just give you my credit card number over the phone, and let's get this done? And you don't want to miss that opportunity to accept that payment, right? So you're just going to hit that question mark. You're going to be like, yeah, for sure, let's do that payment. And it's for $113. And now, just like how you did it for the retainer, in fact, if you actually notice, we also balance where the money goes when there are multiple matters. You just hit payment collection, validate fields, and you're like, yeah, Michael, I'm ready for your card. Enter the card information and say, give me a sec, Michael, when I'm just processing it real quick. And you're like, hey, it's approved. Thank you so much. Watch out for my receipt in a few minutes. Okay. You're just going to say it's a credit card. You're going to deposit it into your general account because that's where the money went. Give them a receipt. Hit apply. Right? It's fairly simple. You can do this while you're on the phone. Thank you, Michael, for the, right? You get the point. Done. So that's the convenience of that integration. It's not rocket science. For sure, we're not trying to sell you rocket science. Mr. Musk does that for us. But what we're trying to show you is the convenience of that integration and how in a real life, in a very pragmatic situation, how convenient and fast it is for you to work through that payment. Okay? So that truly is what the value prop of the integration with TD is. Okay? Obviously, we would love for you as the legal professional who's really good at this to negotiate the best rates that you can get for your firm. As I mentioned earlier, it's definitely a combination. It's very customized to your firm, and I'm sure our friends in these different institutions, Treasurer at TD, would love to work with you and figure out the terms that would be meaningful to both parties, especially to yourself as a client. So think of this as your sidekick for accepting retainers and payments across various different types of matters, right? Be it LATB, small claims for something as small as that, to maybe some of the larger amounts as contingency fees as well. Okay? So just as a quick recap of today's webinar, our focus was on the payment integration, right? We looked at the importance of this integration. We looked at how the advantages, makes its own case for you to explore utilizing credit card payment as a fast, convenient, and a secure way of accepting payments into your legal firm for both retainer-based payments as well as for client general payments. It's over and above your retainer, or when there's no retainer involved. The convenience of you can actually do this at any time, with any device that's connected to an internet, right within uLaw, right within the workflow that you're most used to and convenient. And the fact that you can now provide the convenience of accepting any of these 4 different major credit card types. Okay? We looked at how you can, uLaw integrates with Pivotal, Monaris. In today's use case was how we currently now integrate with TD as well. We looked at how you can use settings to really set yourself up to begin with the new law, bring in that trust and general information, and how simple it is to bring that payment process right within the workflow, whether it's for retainers or for trust. Okay? The last but not the least, the added convenience of sending along an attachment or a link within an invoice so that your clients can now pay for your invoice and pay for your service at their own leisure, and you don't have to necessarily call them after you've sent that invoice. You can kind of rest assured that that link, that convenience motivates them to actually pay you faster. Okay. And last but not the least, that's really the information on our partner, Treasure Baker at TD. We would be really happy to hear from you and understand how she can work with you and serve your firm, okay, through the integration needs. And obviously, we walked through the whole use case of Mr. Michael Chang being our client. We actually included a $500 retainer. We accepted that right through our retainer here. Okay. So we collected that right through here, entering the credit card information, accepting that, and doing that for client payments as well. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you may have for today. And again, as we've heard people say, there are no bad questions, but please feel free to ask us any questions that you may have with regards to today's webinar, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, so we've got a question about how do you handle payments when it's not electronically sent, it's sent to mail. I'm assuming the question is where you actually take a printout, you sign it, you print it, you print the invoice, you sign it, and you basically mail it. I think that's the question. Yes, okay, perfect. Obviously, the one aspect to that integration is you don't have a link. One of the suggestions that we're making, one of the improvements we're making is actually adding a barcode, or, we have this concept within our contacts of this QR code. That's actually an interesting question. So we do have a QR code, and we're thinking about integrating that into an invoice, where if you don't send it electronically and you print this barcode gets printed along with it. And if someone were to scan it on their phone, then that would prompt the link automatically. That's one roadmap item that we're already working on. But for now, without that being integrated, I think the latter part of our demonstration, where we showed you how Michael would have to call you, and you would then accept the credit card on the phone, would be how you would receive that payment. That's actually a really good question. We are looking to integrate the QR code. For those who don't know, the QR code is similar to the barcode. It allows you to use your phone on, even now, when you can use your phone and place it on you can have a QR scanner on your phone. You need that. And if you scan it on top of that, whatever information that QR code has gets onto that device. So likewise, we could embed the particular link of that payment in that QR code and make that available in your invoice as well. I hope that answered that question. Okay, we have another question. Now, where do I see the total money spent, the number of transactions, and the total dollars that I have paid as service fees? That's another interesting question. The quick answer is that is something that our partners would provide to you as your own client portal. So TD would provide you with their own client portal, a secure portal where you can actually go and review all of the transactions that you made through them. Again, don't get me wrong, the integration is done through uLaw, it's collected through uLaw, but a record keeping of that transaction is also kept by TD for their own records, as well as for services and etc. Right? So they would provide you with their own portal, which gives you a list of all the transactions by a month, by a week, and the total service fee that you paid for that period. Okay, someone would like us to show them how we integrated the account information into uLaw. So that's pretty simple. We went into settings here in the top right corner. The tab to be used would be accounts. And we used the payment collection field, which is by default set to none. So let's assume that this is how, so let's say you went into settings, okay, and you went into accounts. This is what you would see, the payment collection set to none. What you would have to do is choose TD Canada Trust. Provide us with your terminal ID, your secret key, right? Your general terminal ID and the secret key for that, and hit save. Okay. So you populate your information, something similar to this, and you would hit save. This would get saved, and once the saving settings message disappears, you're all set. And then you just start to work off your matter. Okay? Yeah, there's a comment about the question mark. Yeah, this is something fairly new that we've added, just a jumping question mark so that it really grabs your attention. Right, so it's one of the fundamental ways in how you can accept pending trust transfers and client owing as well. So yeah, thank you. Hopefully you like that. What does the client payment button do? That's the same thing as what the client owing payments button does. So it's just another shortcut. So if I were to just go ahead and, it's the same button. To be quite honest, that's another shortcut method for you to accept the same payment. Okay. Let's say again, a very important step is obviously to raise the invoice. This is the only time it takes more than maybe 10 seconds to generate. So if you really looked at the question mark, we're looking to promote the question mark because it really tells you by the matter all the analytics, and it tells you in red the action you have to take, right? So if I were to click on the payments button right here, it's going to bring up this payment from client window. Now if you go to client payment, it is the same exact window. So it is a duplicate button to do the same item. But each of our clients has their own way of remembering how to maneuver and navigate and use our product. So we've kind of, we'll have to serve every single client. So for their purposes, we still continue to have some of these shortcut buttons. But yeah, I would highly recommend us. If I were to train from scratch, I would recommend using the question mark. Okay. So if there aren't any more questions, again, I request you to send us your feedback about this webinar. And if there's anything else that you would like for us to cover in our upcoming webinars, especially for the month of March, we're accepting feedback and newer topics that we can cover. We're waiting for a few more new CPDs to be approved by the law societies across different provinces. So we continue to provide these informational sessions, and we sincerely hope this is your time well spent. And we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar, where we're going to walk you through our new iOS platform and how uLaw on a mobile platform provides that convenience to you as the modern legal professional that you are. Okay? So thank you once again, and have yourself a great weekend. Take care and drive safe.